It seems like a very common theme in riding. Well, what I want to talk about is really kind of dismantling the whole concept of overcoming fear. Because do you really want to have zero fear? No. Okay, thank you. Okay, so I'd like to, in this next hour and change, develop a healthier relationship to fear. Okay, because a little bit of fear is a little bit good. All right, so we've got a couple different types of fear. We have physical fear, and then we've got emotional fear. And it's one of those things that are very collapsed, and it's very hard to differentiate. And you can have physical fear, but mostly our fear is going to be emotional mental, okay? Like some of the physical fear you have around your horse is, you know, like they're spooking or they're bucking or something like that, and you actually become immediately physically afraid for your health and safety. That you can't really intercept, but the emotional stuff that we can deal with. Okay, so here are the different genres. Remember, I like the word genres of fear. So your horse. These are like the typical things that I hear. I'm afraid of my horse. I'm afraid of riding, cantering. I've worked with students who have had their horses for years and never, ever, ever ridden a stride of canter. Okay? Serious. Wow. Serious. Serious. I did a clinic last year at a barn, and this woman, she was so sweet. She was like this little tiny bit of a woman, and she had this big giant chestnut who was a saint. Lovely, lovely horse. And she was terrified to canter. And part of what had happened was like her whole barn was, are you gonna canter today? Right? And then that like made it so much better for her. And so it was like this whole big thing. And I told the whole barn, I'm like, nobody is allowed to use the C word with her. Nobody. Nobody's allowed to say it. Nobody. And then so she and I created a strategy, and she posted on my Facebook page about 2 months ago, I cantered, I did first level test 1. I'm like, that's a lot of cantering. But listen, it was really real for her, but it was great, self high five. She did it. Okay, so riding, getting bucked off, handling a horse. Anyone terrified to handle their horse? At times.
Like your breeding season.
Yeah. I've got a horse. There's a horse in my barn. We have all seen his belly button. Your trainer, judge, teacher, peers. Anyone afraid of that? Okay. Competition. Who here is like, I am not afraid of my horse at all, but get me in the ring. Yeah, we got a couple of those. Yes, okay, good. Okay, so we're going to go through these 3 kind of types of fears that we deal with and talk a little bit about the different strategies that I use when I work with people. So the first one really is like the riding. Riding, handling your horse, my one person who was afraid to canter. So how many of you have that? Okay, so being afraid of your horse, getting on, riding, we have a couple no, that's not really the biggest thing here. Okay, let me give you the quick and dirty on that one, okay? So this is what I do when I work with people who are really afraid, like the people who can't canter, who as soon as their horse, one ear moves, they jump off. Okay, I've worked with a lot of people that are really, really afraid. And there's a couple of things that I hear from other people in the barn, go tell them to find a different sport. No, really, I had someone from a barn, when I was doing a clinic, come up and beg me, please tell her to sell her horse and go play racquetball. Okay, but the thing is that everybody who's doing this gets something out of it. Like my friend who won't ride her horse if the wind is blowing, absolutely loves her horse. Absolutely loves grooming and futzing and clipping their ears and cleaning her saddle. And there's a ton that she gets out of it. There's a lot that you get out of it. There's also a lot of fear involved in there, but there's still something that we all get out of it. Okay, so whatever level we're at, that's the first thing to remember, is that if they're there, they're doing it by choice and that there's something that they're getting out of it. If you're there and you're doing it by choice, there's something that you're getting out of it. Okay, so that's the first thing to remember. So if you're afraid about riding, getting on your horse, difficult situations, one of the first things that I ask that you focus on is, what do you have the goods for? Okay? Like be honest, realistic, and powerfully related to your ability, okay? So with my schoolmaster, who absolutely adores me and would do anything for me when the helicopter landed on the building, when the ice slid off, right? That's what it sounded like. And he got scared. That was not his fault, okay? So, and he's a big guy. And guess what? He's a horse. And he's always going to outweigh, outmuscle, outfast, out almost everything me, okay? So for me, when I get on him, and it's windy or whatever, and he's got that little bit of a, you don't own me, right? Then I have a choice, okay? And I think, okay, so he's right. What am I going to do? Am I going to stay on? Or are we going to just really work hard today on flexing and moving off the leg at the walk? Or am I going to get off, have my trainer get on? Am I going to get off? My trainer's not around. I'm going to call it another day. I'm driving up to the barn and I see piles and piles of snow on the roof, right? All of those things are where I get the choice to make good decisions about whether or not I'm going to get on my horse and what I'm going to do, okay? Because he will outhorse me many of the times. Not every time, but many of the times, okay? And getting older, I'm 65, no, I'm kidding. I look good, right? I go to her doctor for longevity. Then I get to make a choice that's good for me, makes me feel good, and I remind myself that I'm not Paul Revere, and if I don't ride today, the British aren't going to win, and we all won't be speaking like this. Right? Okay? So that's the first thing I talk about. Think about what you've got the goods for. Be realistic about it and be okay with it. Okay? There's a woman who rides in my barn who has Velcro for an ass. Okay? She's just nothing. I've only seen her come off a couple times. She is incredible, amazing. We all look at her and go, bitch. Right? Because she's just so good. She can ride anything. And actually, over the years, I've seen her get off a couple of times. And there was nothing that I respected more than that, because it wouldn't have been good for her, and it wouldn't have been good for the horse. Okay, so that's my lecture on that. I'll step down off my soapbox.